Ready? Okay. All right, let's call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for, what's today, November 21st, 2023 to order. My name is Bob Hammersley, and I think that we have Kathy Larkin here, our town clerk, who will swear in the newly elected members. So Kathy, if you want to do what you got to
Okay, good evening. If I could have the three new members please stand and raise your right hands. You solemnly swear you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, and you'll faithfully discharge, according to law, your duties with the Planning and Zoning Commission to the best of your ability, so help you God.
I shall.
Congratulations.
Okay, and with that, Jeremy, can call the roll, please.
Commissioner Tedesco.
Present.
Commissioner Woloski.
Yes.
Commissioner, or alternate chair.
Here.
Alternate Coviello. Commissioner Coles.
Present.
Commissioner alternate Ma.
Here.
Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Here.
Commissioner Britton. Here. Chair Hamilton.
Hammersley's here. So we are looking to item number 4 on our agenda is an election of officers. We're looking for a motion for the position of chairman.
I'd like to make a motion that we place Robert Hammersley for chair.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other names? Any discussion? Close nominations. We need a roll call on this? Yep. If we call the roll, please, Jeremy.
Commissioner Tedesco.
Yes.
Commissioner Woloski.
Yes.
Commissioner Coles.
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Britton. Yes. Chair Hamilton.
Hammersley's a yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. 7-0, right? There we go. We're looking for a motion for vice chair.
I'll make a motion to nominate Steve Wolowski as vice chair of the PCC.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I have a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other names? Seeing none, we'll close nominations. And any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Tedesco.
Yes.
Commissioner Woloski.
Yes.
Commissioner Coles.
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Britton. Yes. Chair Hamilton.
Hammersley's a yes, 7-0. Congratulations, Steve. Looking for a motion for the position of secretary.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Todd Chaplinsky for secretary.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll close nominations. Any discussion? Seeing none, could you please call the roll, please?
Commissioner Tedesco.
Yes.
Commissioner Woloski.
Yes.
Commissioner Coles.
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Britton. Yes. Chair Hamilton.
Hammersley's a yes. Congratulations, Todd. Appointment of a new member to fill a vacancy, item number 5, vacancy for a term ending in November 2025. This was a position that was previously held by Jen Clark, who was elected to the town council recently. And do we have a motion for that position?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Jamie Sewell.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Caleb on that. Any discussion? Seeing none, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tedesco.
Yes.
Commissioner Woloski.
Yes.
Commissioner Coles.
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Britton. Yes. Chair Hamilton.
Hammersley's a yes. 7-0, Jamie. You can come up here. I think Kathy left on us. Alex.
Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you, Jamie Sewell, do you, state your name,
Jamie Sewell.
swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut,
I do.
and faithfully discharge your duties under the Planning and Zoning Commission, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Good job. And Alex, that was pretty impressive. I could see your mind working there. It was interesting. So, on appointment of alternates, me and Commissioner Tedesco have been in touch with each other. I think that there's 2 alternate spots that are open, one in majority party, one in minority party. I think we're going to wait until our next meeting, at least until December 5th, to have those names put forth. But so I think that with that, we'll move on. There's a determination of a quorum. I'm going to flip things around a little bit, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silent reflection, and I have some comments that I'll make. So if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Can all remain standing for a moment of silent reflection, please. Right, thank you. So I want to start off by just thanking the people who ran for a seat on the Planning and Zoning Commission. You know, it takes a lot of time. From experience, I can tell you it takes a lot of time to not just run, but also to make that level of commitment to serve our town. We are all volunteers, and despite efforts to double our pay, those were unsuccessful. So, but when you're doubling something from zero, you can all do the math. But there is a lot of time that we all put into this, and I'm sure that some of you have an idea of that. And so thank you for serving our community, and perhaps more importantly, I think your families, because it's going to require time away from them, not just to attend meetings, but to also do some homework prior to coming to meetings and being involved. So thank you for that. The election was held 2 weeks ago, and I think that the mandate that this election delivered was clear. This is the third time that I'll serve as chairman, and I think that those results were clear, that as Abraham Lincoln said, it's a government by the people, for the people, and of the people. And that's exactly what we have. We are a unique body in the sense that a lot of planning and zoning commissions in Connecticut are not elected, but they're appointed by a chief elected official. We are a representative body of the people that are members of our community. And again, that mandate affords us certain things and a clear vision moving forward, and I'll just outline some of those just to highlight some of them. That is to encourage economic development as a means of expanding Southington's tax base, continue to be sensitive to Southington's character as a place that we all are proud to call home, recognizing the need for the preservation of land in areas residents can enjoy, continue to work towards regulation revisions that preserve open space and encourage additional land acquisitions where and when appropriate, and commit to providing the best opportunities for Southington's families with successful schools, thoughtful approach to growth, and the ability to maintain Southington as a community we can all be proud of and call home. Moving forward, I will operate, and this commission will operate in the same manner that it has for the past 4 years that I've been chairman, and for the 3 years prior to that when I was a member, not serving in a chairman role, and that is in a nonpartisan manner. We do not really interject politics here. The politics is left when the election is held. We work with collaboration, a respectful discourse, and in my opinion, it delivers the best outcome for all of Southington residents. Making land use decisions that benefit our entire community. We all have a duty, and you heard some of us take an oath. Other of us were on 4-year terms, so we are already part of that. But we do have a duty and an obligation to balance the impact of development with the rights of property owners to develop their land in accordance with zoning regulations. And to be clear and frank about it, we have an obligation to adhere to the regulations as required by Connecticut general statutes and confirmed by extensive judicial precedent. The Plan of Conservation Development is our guiding document. It was something that was put together and adopted by this body in 2016. It will be revised, again, per state law, will be revised and readopted in some form by 2026. And again, I just want to emphasize that on this board in the time that I've been here since 2016, we have not and we will not act in favoritism of anybody, irregardless of their plight or their position. We will make sure that if the regulations require us to approve something, then we are bound by law to approve it. If the regulations, conversely, if the regulations don't allow us to approve something, then we are bound not to approve it. We are probably the most regulated body of local government anywhere, and I haven't come across one that is more regulated by state law or federal judicial precedent. The one issue of housing is an issue that comes up time and again, and I know that it came up for the people that are out there campaigning as well. And as some of you may recall, and some of you may remember, back in, I think it was 2022, I think it was last year, we adopted Southington's first housing plan, and that housing plan set forth a couple of different things. First of all, it was required by state law that we do that as a means of looking at our affordable housing. I think that this crosses and transcends political lines of members up here who are part of that as well, have a strong opinion that the way that the state housing law, affordable housing law, 830G is structured is not necessarily an honest or realistic picture of what a town like Southington is. In Southington, we have, I think it's 5.34% of our housing qualifies as affordable housing under the state definition, which means that we are subject to the confines of 830G because we're under 10%. For them, being the state, to suggest that we are somehow under that magic 10% number, which takes us out of being subject to 830G, I think that our housing plan demonstrates this, is unrealistic and demonstrates a broken system. There is a large discrepancy in that our housing plan found that almost 50% of our houses are in fact affordable from a financial standpoint, but for the requirement by state law for a 40-year deed on those houses, there are affordable houses here. There is a diverse set of housing options for people and young families in this community, but that discrepancy between the reality of Southington's existing affordable housing and the perception guided by statute and regulation, it's obvious that the system is broken. And I've been very vocal about that. I will continue to be vocal about that, and I will continue to push our state leaders to modify that law to reflect that. Despite that, the state legislature and the governor's office show no signs of easing up on trying to make those confines even stronger, and in my opinion, make them worse. Collectively, and I think this is a pretty strong statement, but collectively, in my opinion, that these efforts and there is a clear attempt to interfere with Southington's right to self-determination. And I don't believe that is right. I believe that it's wrong. I believe that we have a right as a town, and any other town in the state of Connecticut has a right to determine what their town looks like and what it is. I do support affordable housing. I do support housing that is affordable, and I think that the 47.99% of the houses in the town of Southington that qualify as financially affordable are something that should be recognized to some degree, and I will work in earnest to continue to do that. And I'm sure that I have the backing of speak for them because they're perfectly capable of doing that. But I think that the people up here support that as well. So with that, we'll move on to item number 12, commission discussion. Is there any subdivision or subcommittee reports? Seeing none. The town council will be setting up some subcommittees that we will have appointments to. They haven't done that yet, so we're not going to appoint anybody just now. But that will be an active agenda item moving forward. Item number 13, looking for a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting on October 17, 2023.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 14. Item 14A, Snow White Power Equipment subdivision application for a two-lot re-subdivision property located at 154 Town Line Road, zoned in an I-2, S1339. This is a public hearing that's continued from 10/17. Commissioner Britton.
Chairman, I wish to recuse myself.
Okay. All right. In your place, we'll see Commissioner Ma for the time being, and Mr. Judas, fire away.
Just want to get this mic up nice and close. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and commission members, and new commission members, welcome. Congratulations. My name is Stephen Judas. I'm with the office of Harry Cole & Son, located at 876 South Main Street in Plantsville. Here tonight on behalf of Snow White Power Equipment located on Town Line Road. This is an existing parcel, existing building located at 154 Town Line Road. It's an I-1 zone, and it's a 3.36 acre parcel of property. This area had been previously subdivided by the S. Carpenter Construction Company, and Snow White purchased the lot outlined in red and constructed their facilities at the front of the building, in front of the parcel. They have a primary building with a repair and showroom. They have storage building here with some parking associated with it. And we have an existing curb cut and driveway that comes through the site and runs around the building. The existing building and site is serviced by public water and public sewer. And we're proposing to develop an interior lot, a rear lot, which is outlined with this fee simple access, and the interior lot would be this parcel back here. It's almost identical to what was done next door. Jensen's built a building at this location, and then Trade-On is at this point with an existing driveway that runs through the site. Snow White's proposing to do the same thing. They're going to utilize the existing curb cut, and existing driveway that runs through the site. Sewer and water is through easements in the back of the property. And there's an existing detention basin that will service both lots located in this area, and we're proposing it. And at some point in the future, he would like to come in with another building, but that's not part of our application right now. We're just looking to subdivide the properties into two. The front lot would be a 4A, it would be a 1.5 acre parcel, and the rear lot, the interior lot would be 4B, would be a 1.78 acre parcel. As I mentioned, and I just want to reiterate, we're using the existing curb cuts on the road. There's not going to be any work done out on Town Line Road. The sewer and water comes in from the back, and we're utilizing the existing driveway. So it's a relatively minor intrusion. I don't think anyone will really notice it or see it until maybe at some point the building goes up in the back. We did require a small variance. We're required to have 200 feet from an interior lot driveway to an interior lot driveway. I think we have about 186 feet. So we did go before the Zoning Board of Appeals. That's the reason that this was kind of dragged out a little longer. And they did give us a favorable vote on that request. So I believe I did receive an email from staff, from Jeremy, saying that we were in good shape with this. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for you or the public that you might have for me.
Thanks, Steve. Are there any questions for members of the commission of the applicant? Seeing none? Steve, you know how it works?
Yep, I'll sit
Yeah.
down. For the-
So we'll invite members of the public who want to testify on this application. Is there anyone who'd like to testify on this application, either for or against? Thanks, Jim. Going twice? Hearing none. Steve? Want to close it out?
That's it. And it concludes my presentation, so thank you for your
Okay.
consideration this
Let
evening.
let me just ask a question, just to put
Yes,
it on
sir.
the record. Jeremy and Jim, are you both satisfied with the responses you received from the applicant on this application? I know you both had comments out there. You satisfied that everything's been answered to your satisfaction?
Engineering's all set, Mr. Chairman.
Jeremy? Okay. Steve, anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any reason to keep this public hearing open? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on that one. Rob, come back. Tessa, thanks for your service. Did a great job. Item 14B, so with the pleasure of the commission, I'd like to take 14B and 14C together. It's the same parcel of property, and I just think in the interest of putting it all out there, it makes more sense to do that. Is there any objection to doing that? Anything? No? Okay, 14B, Evergreen of Southington LLC, special permit application for a proposed 18-lot open space preservation re-subdivision with approximately 940-foot-long cul-de-sac public road and corresponding public utilities, property located at 567 Woodruff Street, zoned in R 2025, that's SPU 684. Likewise, 14C, Evergreen of Southington LLC, subdivision application for a proposed 18-lot open space re-subdivision, property located again at 567 Woodruff Street, zone in R 2025, that's S1340. If the applicant can identify himself and his address, and then show us what you got.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Chaz Evans, licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Bowler Engineering. office address at 65 LaSalle Road in West Hartford. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Southington of Evergreen LLC, and the owner and applicant of the parcel, Sammy Abunassar, is here with me as well if the commission has any questions specifically to the property ownership. Give me one moment as I just am setting up an easel, and then I have just a presentation to walk through.
As we always like to do things just for future reference electronically, because it gives the people out there the opportunity to see what you're presenting as well. So
Yep.
we have a lot of the information up here.
Okay.
So maybe you want to sort of direct that stuff more towards the back of the room there so that they could see it.
Okay. Yeah, and everything I have on boards is just in the event that, technology
Okay.
was a concern
Okay.
or.
All right, good idea. Thanks. And Chaz, while you're doing that, I'm just going to state for the record that our town planner put out a memo yesterday, I believe, on this application. I believe he sent it to you. It is going to be, I'm going to ask that that be included as part of the public record on this application. If anyone wants to see a copy of that, it's certainly, I think, available on the town website as well. So feel free to go up there. And again, I think you received a copy of it as well.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll speak to it, and again, it's very.
Okay. You're free to speak to whatever you want, Chaz. That's the beauty of this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So as mentioned, we are here on behalf of you to present a 17-lot open space preservation subdivision. Currently at 567 Woodruff Street, was previously the Evergreen Nursery parcel, about 7.78 acres, of which we're proposing to disturb about 7.2 acres, which a majority of the site has been previously disturbed based on the nursery use that I believe a few years back closed down. To speak to the letter we did, the memorandum we did receive from town planner, Mr. DeCarli, the subdivision, we've been working with town staff, with town engineering. We've received a few planning letters. We've received a few engineering letters. And what you have before you tonight has kind of been, a few pre-app meetings, a few discussions in terms of how best to present the open space that's part of this subdivision. Within the open space preservation subdivision code, it does leave in the commission's hands a lot of discretion in terms of how you'd like to see the open space utilized as part of the community, as part of the town, whether it's to enhance or preserve the current open space or the buffers or the view sheds that are there, and definitely points that Mr. DeCarli's memorandum spoke to. So as I present the plan, by no means is this the final plan that we're presenting. This is what we wanted to present over the course of the last few months working with town staff to get the commission's input and understand what their goals are for the open space as it relates to this development and the overall subdivision itself as it would relate to a by right subdivision in the R20, R25 zone. So again, just to kind of give that background, the memorandum we received and in full support of it, I think, the finishing statement to the memorandum was looking, forward to our discussion tonight and working with the commission and our team to create a project that's mutually beneficial. And as the applicant's team, we're looking to do the same thing with the town and get the commission's input tonight to make the best project possible for the town. So with that, what we're currently proposing is a cul-de-sac approximately 900 to 1,000 feet long. There was a waiver requested as part of the application because the current cul-de-sac length restrictions are at 600 feet. We're looking for that waiver request due to the shape of the property. It's not a rectangular parcel that lends to 600 feet and stopping there. It's a pretty slender, odd-shaped property that lends itself to an extended cul-de-sac to allow for homes on both sides of this neighborhood. With that, just to kind of walk through, and I did a quick overlay of what the lots look like on the existing conditions plan. To kind of show you what we're proposing, what's there now. As I mentioned, a majority of the 7 to 7.2 acres of disturbance we're currently proposing is already disturbed. The existing impervious coverage on the site is roughly 30%. Proposed, including the new road we'd put in, would actually bring the impervious coverage on the whole property down to 22%. There is required stormwater on each of these individual home lots, and that's to meet the town and the state's water quality requirements. So if water quality wasn't a requirement, but as it is required by the state, this would be one of the rare subdivisions you see nowadays that wouldn't have required stormwater. Our goal and our design for the stormwater on this overall parcel is to keep it individual by the lots. We tried to make as simple of a design as possible so that a new residential subdivision didn't need an HOA that needed to hire a landscape company to maintain a large stormwater basin or a more complex stormwater system. The systems that are proposed on each lot are about 40 feet by 12 feet wide. It's a stone trench with one pipe in it that infiltrates back into the ground. So again, that was the goal of this subdivision, is to create something that if someone were building a house, they wouldn't have to be part of a larger HOA that you see with many of the new subdivisions nowadays because stormwater is maintained on one parcel that's shared by the overall development. So when we talk about the open space for what's currently presented to the commission, again, the initial plan that was submitted had a small strip of open space around the rear parts of this parcel to really preserve the existing trees and preserve the limited open space and vegetation that existed on the parcel. Again, received planning staff and engineering comments on the initial submission, and the feedback was heard that the minimum width of any strip of open space really wants to be 20 feet, wants to be accessible. We want to narrow down a few access points and want to have a large block of the open space. So currently what we propose, we reduced the number of lots originally proposed down to 17. And a majority of the open space is within this rear corner, as well as 20-foot buffer, a little bit wider on the northwest side, to really maintain the existing forested buffer that would exist between the existing houses and the new development. Again, trying to preserve what pieces of nature are still on the parcel. As you can see on this overlay, part of this is previously disturbed. And under the current plan, given the grading of the cul-de-sac, we were proposing retaining walls in that portion to hold back the existing tree line that exists up against the tributary to the stream, or to the creek down the way. As I mentioned, as part of the open space preservation application, we have to present what the by right subdivision is in R20, R25. So what you have as part of your packets and what we submitted in our application was a half-acre subdivision minimum lot size, or 22,500 square foot minimum lot size, and a 600-foot long cul-de-sac. What it ends up getting you with this parcel is 8 lots, 6 of them, again, most efficiently down in a cul-de-sac format, and leaving 2 larger 2-acre lots to handle the rest of the parcel in the back. Again, that's part of the submission that we're asking for the open space subdivision that includes open space that would be dedicated to the town of Southington, in the effect to have a higher density on the parcel, and as opposed to 8 to a 17-lot subdivision. I pulled up the grading plan. One piece that's brought up in the planning letters that you may have, and engineering as well, is the significant grade change that's in the rear of this property. Most of the property as exists now is relatively flat, where a lot of the nursery operations were, which gives a little bit of a challenge that we need to grade and cut a portion of the front of the site to provide adequate stormwater drainage so that we don't just have ponding. Currently, the site has a few dry wells on it that collect any of the stormwater and infiltrate it back in the ground. Again, we would be putting, stormwater systems and conveyance that meet the town standards for a town road. But where a significant portion of this grading occurs is in these back few lots. As the grade change for the cul-de-sac is the cul-de-sac sits at about elevation 218, 219. At the end of the cul-de-sac, and existing grades down by where the tree line is about 195. So we're looking between a 15 to 25-foot grade change, depending where you're at in this corner of the site. And a lot of that comes down to just trying to get driveways that aren't 15, 20%, meeting those standards, meeting the standards of the cul-de-sacs, along with the lot layout. So again, this is the open space, and a little tough to see, but I will pull out. The retaining walls we mentioned were here, and that was to preserve essentially the grades in the area back in this corner. If the commission feels that that's the appropriate location and condition of the open space, I know it was mentioned in a planning letter that the retaining walls aren't really in favor because it's something that the town would have to maintain. It's something we can look at in terms of grading what has already been disturbed to remove those walls, and you get a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 slope within the open space that we would then be able to replant as a evergreen or deciduous buffer to kind of enhance what currently has been disturbed and kind of left in a bare condition. From a landscape plan, this one's a little tough to see on the screen, but we are providing street trees, at least a 50-foot spacing. There's about 38 of the street trees proposed, as well as street lighting. I know there was a comment in the engineering letter within your packets that the street lighting may have been a little bit too dense, so it's a matter of just coordinating with Department of Public Works in terms of the spacing they'd be looking for if we need to reduce the number of lights currently proposed. And again, like I said, currently what we're proposing, 17 lots with the open space mostly in the rear here. To the side, 20-foot accesses down the side, maintaining our plantings and maintaining the plantings over there. I will bring up one comment that we'd like to discuss with the commission, part of the engineering letter. Per the definitions of open space, there is a section that asks for the open space to include a tot lot or some type of playground feature for this. So we'd look for the commission's input and any feedback. We didn't currently put one on this plan, given the proximity to the middle school, given the proximity to Veterans Memorial Park down Woodruff Street. But again, that's as part of the open space preservation code, it's to the discretion of the commission. If the commission feels that a tot lot should be included in this, it's something we have to take into consideration with our overall grading plan and lot configuration for the design of this development. With that, I can walk through any specific planning letters or engineering letters if the commission had specific questions.
Yeah, okay. So can you do me a favor? Could you go, and I'll start off the questioning if it's okay with folks. Could you go back to the slide that showed the open space? I think it was a third or fourth slide there.
The existing condition?
Or the proposed open space back there.
Yep.
That, you were just on it, where it's outlined in purple
Oh,
there.
this one, yes.
Right there. So just make sure that I understand before I proceed, that outline in purple is where you're proposing to put the open space in this subdivision.
Correct.
Okay. Two questions with regards to that. One is that, as outlined in the letter or the memo from Jeremy, section 3-07.4H2, there are certain requirements for an open space itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of those requirements, not to read it verbatim, but some of those requirements are suitable access, shape, dimension, character, location, and topography to accomplish the purposes specified. Could you talk to that with regards to where you're proposing to put that? Specifically, if I, as a resident of the town of Southington, want to access that open space, how can I get to it? short of cutting through someone's yard or walking through that thin strip in what I think is the southern part of the cul-de-sac there.
So those strips would be open, and they have to have the fencing on either side. From an access standpoint, it would only be through walking. You wouldn't have people taking bicycles or go-karts. Given the existing topography of the site and the proposed topography, we're proposing most of those areas are within a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 slope. Again, like I mentioned, given the change of grade. So really, and it also comes in terms of what we had shown from our cul-de-sac length or cul-de-sac width. I know in the planning, there was a comment in terms of having the cul-de-sac 24 feet or 28 feet. If you were to have a resident come there, someone tried to park on street to, again, utilize that open space, you'd be parking on a side and you'd getting out of your car to walk through these essentially fenced out sides here to either view this view shed or really what we see as the main point of the open space view shed. And I have a picture we can kind of look at this open space from a 3D view would be viewing this back strip here in the stream.
So I'll use my pointer here, right? So if I wanted to access this main area over here, right? I would have to, and I'm making sure I understand what you just said, I would have to park my car here, or somewhere along here, or somewhere along here, or somewhere along here, or this is, I believe, is a church parking lot over here, right? I would have to park my car there and then come up through here, go around here behind lot number 9, I believe, to get to that area. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the width of this, I'll call it a ribbon that wraps around lots 6, 7, 8, and 9?
That width's 20 feet.
It's 20 feet wide on, pretty much at all locations? This looks a little bit wider.
That's a
but
little bit
generally
wider than 20 feet.
20 feet wide?
Yep. And then over there is probably 40
And
feet.
what's the dimension of this area right here?
That area itself is about 12 to 14,000 square feet. So
Okay.
that's of the 0.72 to 74 acres of open space, that's about a third of an acre, which again, per the previous plan, used to be one of the lots. Again, we eliminated completely one of the lots, given how, the planning
Okay.
feedback we got.
Now talk to me about the topography of all this area. What does it look like? Is it sloped? If it's sloped, what's the degree of slope? And
So currently on that, and I know it's tough to see on.
where I'm going, Chad, just
Sure,
to be straight with you,
Sure.
is that I want to know if it's actually an area that is actually something that I could walk without fear of falling down some steep slope into some ravine somewhere. So that's where I'm going to go with this question. So
No,
I want you to address that.
And it is a steep slope. It's not it's an area you'd go for a relatively heavy hike. It wouldn't be an area I would take my daughter and take a stroller to go out and find. So, and again, that's kind of the open space as it's preserved. From a commission standpoint, if the goal of open space is to have more of an area where people can walk, almost from an ADA accessibility and make sure it's a safer path that folks can walk, it's definitely something we would look into to modify the open space that's currently
The
proposed.
way that this is configured, that isn't.
That cannot
That
happen.
isn't that.
Correct.
In essence, if I could be blunt about it, it's undevelopable land on this property, right?
You could develop it as a house that we had previously shown, but as it's now with the retaining walls, it wouldn't be developed.
Okay. Next question, I have one more after this. Could you go to the traditional, that one, right there, right? And this is with a 600-foot cul-de-sac, which is allowed by regulation, right? But not an open space subdivision, this is a traditional subdivision,
Correct.
correct? What's the difference between this and what you showed me earlier, other than that this property back here, and obviously the road doesn't extend down here, but this property back here would then be given to whoever purchased that, I can't read what lot number it is, this one and this one. What's the difference between those and the one that you showed me earlier?
In terms of a lot configured,
Sure.
the number of lots and the size of the lots themselves. So these lots are all the 22,500 square foot compared, that per code.
Right.
Where the open space subdivision has provisions to allow us to do a minimum of 14,000 square foot lot.
So under a traditional just to summarize, and correct me if I'm wrong here, on a traditional subdivision application, you could fit 8 units out there, larger lot size, less density, which is what the open space, one of the open spaces trade-off is that you get greater density in return for open space.
Correct.
But you would have less density on those houses, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Final question, has there been a Phase 1 done on this property?
There has, and then there actually has been a Phase 2 that was completed, and Sammy can correct me, the bank previously that had this parcel completed a Phase 1 and Phase 2, which we will share with the commission.
Have you shared those with us?
We have not shared
Okay.
it to date, but we will be sharing it.
Okay, so, and this goes along with other things as well, because there's a number of outstanding comments from planning and from engineering as well, that this is going to continue, this public hearing is going to continue. Because as
Absolutely.
you know, we can't close a public hearing and take additional information, but I am interested in seeing that Phase 1, which I think is required by regulation for that to be submitted, so I am looking forward to that, and with that, I'll open it up to other commission members who might have questions. Steve?
My question is going to be regarding the retaining walls.
Mhm.
Can you go back to the proposed area?
Actually, I'll go, if this plan works for you, or I can go to the grading plan.
With the one that we started with the purple.
This one here?
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
So there's about 14,000 square foot of proposed retaining wall area? Surface area, is that what I'm reading here? Core block approximately 14,000 square feet in size with a 20-foot strip wrapping around the properties.
The open space is 14,000 square feet in this area. And then I haven't completed a calc in terms of how tall, how much square footage of wall we're looking at. The wall ranges between, given the 20-foot change in grade,
So what's the wall on its highest?
at the highest, there's 2 walls. That one wall is 8 to 10 feet, and then there's a 10 to 15-foot flat space, and then another 8 to 10-foot wall. There's a terrace wall, correct.
So essentially, that renders that parcel of land useless for any kind of activities, correct? You're not scaling these walls for walking
No,
and hiking.
you'd be walking down sides that are 3-to-1 slope along the side of it.
3-to-1.
Correct. But again, the purpose of the walls was to maintain the area,
To
the
accommodate-
the existing area.
Accommodate the cul-de-sac for the most part, correct?
Correct.
All right. I just don't see how this constitutes open space. I mean, it's open space, sure, but I mean, it's not usable, it's not a benefit to the town in any way. I mean, the walls themselves will have to be maintained by the town on a long-term basis, and I don't think that there's a retaining wall in existence that has a indefinite lifespan. So I'm just curious as to the motives of this, other than to put in more dense. How is it?
From an open space perspective, and again, the walls were there to preserve the existing grade that's down below. If, like I mentioned, you could get rid of the need for the walls and make the whole piece sloped, and either replant it or leave it as a sloped piece. Again, not to the accessibility as we discussed before with easy walkability, but would that be something, if there were sloped portions of the open space? I'm not saying the whole open space is sloped, but if there were sloped portions, would a sloped portion, as we talk, some of the areas to the side here, would that still be considered in the commission's mind a portion of open space? If it's a steep slope that currently trees exist on that I don't want to disturb a mature.
I understand what you're saying. I don't see that this concept, I'm not sure how you tweak this concept to make this particular tract of land appealing for open space. It seems more conducive to the subdivision itself than it does to a benefit for the town to approve denser housing for this trade-off of this tract of land. I just don't see it. So, That's all I have.
You all
Thank
set, Steve? Okay. You want to react to that, or?
I guess the only piece, just from an open space, for what the town would look, and I know, like we had mentioned, there's a tot lot, if there were to include a playground within this development that's dedicated to the town, is that something, if I could reconfigure it, shorten the cul-de-sac, get more space back here, again, impact the density, if I were to make an area that's flat up there and enjoyable by the residents of the town, does that constitute, the open space within this? If, let's say, again, a portion of this could be sloped, but I have an upper area that's kind of, your park area, if you will.
I understand what you're saying
Sure.
now. I'm giving you my impression of what I'm seeing now, and the question you're asking is broader for the entire commission. So
Yep,
it would be
agreed.
unfair for me to just simply comment on that.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the commission?
I mean,
You look like you want to say something, Nick, so
thanks.
Go for it, man.
Just for public record, it's not more of a question, it's not so much a question, it's just a statement of like what I'm looking at on the GIS maps, geographic information systems. It's kind of like it can be an analysis software, but it's what engineers use to evaluate property, et cetera. What I'm seeing is that this is the back end of this property, so as everyone's viewing it here, as far to the right,
I have an image that may help here.
is potential floodplain and encroaching on wetlands, and I don't even see that the space that's being made available for open space is having any usability at all. And well, I'm just confused how it will come about that this is truly open space. But I think I'm just beating a dead horse with that, because the Chair Hammersley and Vice Chair Wulowski kind of pointed to that as well. If you'd like to comment on it.
No, and that's
Of course.
exactly the feedback we came here tonight to
Yeah.
hear the commission's feedback, to hear the town's feedback, is heard that it needs to have it needs to have a significant usability component to it. And our question is of all the open space, is it 60% usable and 40% existing vegetation that we're looking for you guys to, have a say in? Or is it, hey, it's 100% got to be usable, I need to be able to walk up to every tree, that's kind of what we're looking in terms of how do we modify this plan to.
Personally, I would look for some maintenance of existing vegetation, because it is a national diversity database, natural diversity database area. It's not critical climate, but there is value in preserving what exists there.
You all set? Anyone? Caleb?
I just like to, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to pick up where my colleague left off with the flood water. So Lot 9, the structure in Lot 9 is like literally in the middle of the structure, the 100-year flood line rides. How do we build a house right on a 100-year flood line? If you could just indulge.
Sure,
in that.
no, that's an easy, so FEMA in general, their maps, some are outdated, some are based off of USGS topography that has 10-foot contours. A lot of times we work with FEMA directly on several other sites, and the simple exercise is, hey, I now have a survey that gives me 1-foot contours that FEMA didn't have access to when they developed their flood maps for the country. They're not going to go and get everyone's 1-foot contour. So when we got that and we compared the FEMA, and there's a studied floodplain elevation along that stretch, the floodplain elevation speaks to the elevation 193. And so we overlay the FEMA map, which is at a much larger, 500 scale, 1,000-foot scale. And if you're overlaying that line, that's where the surveyor says, hey, here's where the line comes. This is what FEMA knew of when they had 10-foot contours. They took a guess or an interpretation from, let's say, the 90 contour to the 100 contour. Now we have exactly where that 93 contour is. So in our plans, the surveyor is able to update and say, hey, FEMA says the floodplain elevation is 93, your actual floodplain line is down below. And that's where we're staying out of with our development. even though graphically overlaying the FEMA map, which the surveyor has to say, graphically, I have to tell you and the bank and everybody else, insurance-wise, here's where the FEMA map says the line is. From a topography standpoint, the line's actually significantly lower on the property.
What was that number? Because I'm looking at the house now, and there is a heck of a grade at the back of that. Will that have to be filled to put that house in?
So the floodplain itself does not have to be filled.
Okay. So it looks like, and again, I'm trying to look at very small lines on these contours. It looks like the back of the southeast corner of Lot 9, where the house is. I'm not sure what this particular three-lined X hash mark is. But it looks like it's down gradient and probably 15 feet below that 100-year storm line. So part of that property is gonna be, certainly gonna be in that floodplain.
A portion of the property outside of the grading, yeah, at the bottom portion here,
Okay.
is within the floodplain line itself, but the grading stops at about the 195 contour. But to your point, the finished floor for Lot 9, look at the building itself's about 216. The basement, we're assuming like a 10-foot basement, is about 206. And again, there's a wall out in the back of there to not fill it in the floodplain that then adds a couple feet to it.
Oh, so that's a retaining wall?
You're looking to
of the
back,
property.
yeah, correct.
Aha. Okay. Tricky spot. Okay. To that end, that's my question, but in general, I have similar concerns with my colleagues about the open space provisions and the usability of that area. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the commission at this time? None? Chaz, we're going to open it up to the public, so sit back, take some notes. I'll be taking notes as well, and then we'll have you come up and respond to some of that as well, so.
Thank you very much. I have a couple other images if we need to share, just the one pulled up in terms of what the front of the site looks like, like if those questions come up. We need to see what some of the areas, so. But I'll leave the rendering up for now for the public comment.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Thank you.
Your choice. It's your application. You decide what you want to do. Okay, so at this point, we'll open it up for anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and share your thoughts with us. Anyone in favor of the application? One more time, we'll ask if there's anyone in favor of the application to come forward. I don't see anybody. Is there anyone who'd like to testify in opposition to the application? Please come forward. You come on up, come forward. We're a relatively small group, so I think we can manage ourselves together. Just give us your name and address for starters and share your thoughts with us, please.
My name is Ryan Vassar. I live on Saddlebrook Path in Southington. Before I start, Bob, I want to say what you said at the top of the meeting there was spot on, and I respect that, and I'd follow you in a battle anywhere, okay? So we're in good hands with you at the top
I hope
here.
we don't have a battle, Ryan, but, I appreciate it.
All right, so good evening, fellow citizens of our fair town of Southington, and of course, greetings to our esteemed Honorable Planning and Zoning Board. I rise today to speak to the proposal regarding the proposed subdivision at 567 Woodruff Street. My name is Ryan Vassar, and my family history in the town goes back to the 1960s. I live in close proximity to the proposed location, have 3 children in the local school systems nearby, and volunteer my time and money with the Southington North Baseball League, Southington Knights football and cheer youth sports programs at Memorial Park, and the SBYA at DePaula Schools. I am a university-trained biologist who specializes in sustainable ecology and agriculture, and a huge fan of our open space program here in the town, for which this proposal is directly engaged with. To state that I am intimately and knowledgeably invested in the development of this parcel would be a wild understatement. Before I continue, I'd like to thank all the citizens who have come down tonight, the ones that have sent in letters. I was able to see them on the Planning and Zoning Board. I agreed with a lot of what was sent in before. I did not know there was a meeting that this was addressed before. This was the first time I was actually to get down here and get actionable on this. But I want to say thank you to everybody who's taken part in the civic process. Government should work through the will of the people, and it is important that we, the people, rise when there is cause for concern and be the change that we wish to seek in our local communities. I fear we as a town will need that candor and diligence as I see a greater storm clouds gathering on the horizon, but for today, we're just going to do 567 Woodruff. Now we all know Southington is one of the most sought after zip codes. Everybody's aware of the Realtor.com poll that went out, #2 in the nation, and that's going to bring a lot of attention to our town. Most of us knew that already. That's why we're here. That's why we raise our families here. We're in before it got trendy. But why we excel and why we're #2, it has a lot to do with our history, our forefathers, and of course, our open space program. We are not a popular destination for families due to urban sprawl. That I know for certain. It is because we have maintained the work of our forefathers in open spaces and kept the town from pivoting away from its natural splendor and agrarian roots into one of an overbuilt city. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the parcel, and we just had a pretty deep dive on it right now, the close proximity to the stream that connects Memorial Park to Spring Lake. I'm not going to go into great scientific detail about the importance of aquatic ecosystems and the biodiversity of the surrounding areas, as our Open Space Committee is already acutely aware of these things. But the fact that it is a registered parcel in the National Diversity Database, which you mentioned before, in close proximity to that water speaks to its ecological potential and notoriety. When we talk about the value of developing real estate, never is the cost of naturally occurring ecosystems priced in. All those little critters that live in there or can live in there, they don't have a dollar value. You don't get a square footage on the nematodes and the microbes and the bacteria that are beneficial to our greater ecology. If we don't stand up for preserving and remediating some of those areas, Southington's most invaluable national treasures, its town-like appeal will be lost due to developer greed. The mission of open space is to foster the balance of natural resources, wildlife, and development through the active preservation of open space lands to protect and maintain the scenic, recreational, and cultural landscape from the overall enrichment of the community. If we are talking about developing this space in the vein of open space, with its unique proximity to DePaulo, Memorial Park, the Armory, and naturally occurring aquatic ecosystems, we should be talking what more can be done here to assist current Southington residents via park and parking extensions, natural remediations, turning the land back to its natural state via town-owned open space. For those of you who are unfamiliar with bioremediation, it is the process of returning developed and/or polluted sites back to their natural state. You were alluding in the phase 1 and the phase 2 and what that may or may not reveal. As to the amount of pollution, that's right there, but we really, as a town, should start taking a look at bringing sites that have failed, and a lot of it happens downtown with some of the industrial sites, but bringing them back to their natural state. While I can only speculate based on what I've read in the letters and what the soil scientist wrote in his wetlands report, it looks like the parcel is already in the process of naturally remediating itself and restoring more of the invaluable wetlands that have been damaged through the years of dumping to the rear of the property. Many of the letters of the town indicating nefarious dumping, but I can't speak to that, only to the overall need for natural restoration. So let's take a look at what's being proposed. We already did. What we're trying to do here is put more than double the amount of houses in lieu of seeding roughly 3/4 of an acre towards open space. And what we've already looked at is how ineffectual that open space will be to make it an open space preservation subdivision. It is utter madness to insinuate that giving 10% of the land back via open space, which ultimately amounts to a few mature trees scattered throughout the property in exchange for a 200% increase in allowable houses, traffic, and all other concerns that the town citizens who wrote and spoke or will speak today, is a win for open space and the sustainability of the town's fabric. We have to ask the question, is this going to be the destiny of every large parcel left in Southington, to be sliced and diced to developer delight? Every time we add more supply to the town housing market, simple economics says that everyone else's house becomes less valuable and the load on the town system becomes that much greater. We cannot continue down the path towards urban sprawl. As citizens of the town, we are in a unique position where we hold a highly desirable town fabric while the rest of the world is literally burning and people are fleeing failed cities in droves. It is with the utmost importance we protect what has made the town great and say no to additional sprawl, mockery of our open space system, and protect what we as Southington Knights and the Open Space Committee hold dear. To quote Joni Mitchell, you don't know what you got till it's gone. If we don't start taking a stand over development, we can look at Waterbury, New Britain, Meriden at a glimpse of the future, and it ain't pretty. I would much rather draw upon the strong roots and history of the town to continue building, repairing, and enhancing what has already made this town the number 2 nationally searched town in the United States, but always number 1 in my heart. Thank you for hearing me, and thank you for your consideration, and I trust that we are in good hands with our Planning and Zoning Board. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate the Jody Mitchell reference. It's always good. Anyone else would like to testify in opposition? Come on up. So again, give us your name and address, please.
John Jacobson, and I live over on 11 Quail Hollow. I'm not going to be as eloquent as my predecessor was, but I do have a few concerns about this development. One is the number of houses being planned to put in there, and as he said before, it is right near Memorial. It's right near the ballpark, baseball park. It's near DePaulo. There's enough traffic. I used to coach down there. I coached there for a long time. I used to see the cars whipping up and down the road. We don't need a ton more going in over there. Another thing, most of that building lots in the neighboring areas, in the subdivision to the east of it and to the houses along Pleasant Street are all pretty much half-acre lots. Why not continue what the neighborhood already is? Why change it and why jam more houses in that are unnecessary? We do have housing in this town. We don't need to jam a ton of houses in small areas. It really doesn't do us any good in the long run. Trying to think, there was one other point I was going to make, but I think those are probably the two biggest ones. Just the density and the traffic, and property values on the houses on either side.
I think
Thank
you
you.
did a good job, John. So don't
Thank
sell
you.
yourself short, but thanks for coming out and
Yep,
appreciate
thank you,
you
guys.
sharing your thoughts with us. Is there anyone else who'd like to testify in opposition?
Is there a third category, not opposition, but some questions?
Sure, we'll just open it up to whatever.
First of
yeah.
all, thank you for serving, and thank you for being here tonight to listen to me. My name is Jeff Stalley. I'm the pastor of Zion Lutheran Church. That's the whole bottom left corner there. So we have a significant border with the new development, and I just have some questions about how this would move forward and we could be good neighbors if this were to happen. And the first one is we have a nursery school at our congregation, at our church, that meets 5 days a week. And I'm wondering about what the impact might be and what safety measures might be implemented to assure the well-being of the nursery school students during the week and our regular families on the weekends. If you look in the bottom left, you can see the church, and then there's a parking lot, and you can see a little bit in the top right corner is a playground. And so that playground right there looks like it will abut, several properties. And so that would be a concern if there's, not that we don't want to be bad neighbors, but about access to that playground and what kind of barrier there might be. And also within that concern would be, having been a nursery and pesticides and what other chemicals might be, is there the potential for runoff from the property and drainage down into where the playground is now? And then I don't know if there's is there a plan in place if the nursery school parents or church members have other questions about that, safety, is there a place to talk about that? Or is that tonight? Is that location or in the future? So the first question is about the, ideas of safety for our kids, both in that playground and then along that northern border. Is there going to be some type of buffer between there? The second area of concern would be kind of like noise mitigation. Certainly during construction, would there be the noise that might disturb worship service, might disturb nursery school? How might that be addressed? And then reversely, we have a 6 a.m. Easter sunrise service. How do we make sure that doesn't disturb without us having to change that? Our bells ring 9, noon, 3, and 6. How do we keep that going without them being disturbed? How do we continue our activities without having to change? So how does that noise mitigation might work both ways? So the first one is, kind of keeping, what kind of barriers might there be to access to our lot to keep kids safe, and the noise. And then the third question I bring from congregation members on that northern border, what kind of might, I don't know what the word is, what kind of barrier might there be so that we can talk in our parking lot till 9 o'clock at night, or when we pull into a parking spot, our headlights not shining right into somebody's patio, or in the other direction, are they, is their light, is their activities disturbing what we are doing? So just the safety of keeping good neighbors, good fences, the noise situation going both ways, and what kind of barrier might be on that northern border.
Okay, we'll have the applicant talk to that when he comes back up. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else? Gary, before you start, I just want to make sure that the stenographer can hear you enough to get it on the record, right? Okay, Gary, I need an address, please.
Oh, it's 259 Pleasant Street, which
Okay.
is right here. So one of my questions is, for 35 years, this has all been private property. I talk about open space and I'm as for as everybody else is. But now I have to worry about people that I don't know walking through the back of my backyard. Not neighbors. This gentleman said that people could pull into the cul-de-sac, park their cars, walk all over here. It's been my home for 35 years. People aren't gonna do that. And I'm sure some of the neighbors that are in this area feel the same way. That's about my only concern.
Okay,
I wanna watch it first.
okay.
One last comment. As I said, I've been here a long time in this town. I watched it grow. It was a small cow town in '74. It's not anymore. There's probably a few postage stamps left that people still want to build on, and that's a shame.
Thanks, Gary. Is there anyone else who'd like to testify in opposition to the application at this time? As Val's coming up, I'm gonna let people know that, as I said earlier, this public hearing is not gonna be closed tonight. We're gonna be back here in 2 weeks on December 5th, at which time this public hearing will still be open, and you'll still have an opportunity to come and speak at that time as well. So with that, Mr. Guarino, go ahead.
Hi, Val Guarino, 1432 East Street. I just wanted to make an observation. This is, my understanding, this is a request to change from R20 to an open space subdivision. I haven't heard anybody talk about the regulation, and does this actually fit with the requirements of the regulation? Only the new planner wrote that big letter that, if I read it correctly and read between the lines, basically screams it doesn't fit the regulation, therefore it shouldn't be allowed. Plus 8 houses versus 17 is a lot better for the town services. But I was just surprised that nobody's really pointing to the regulation and saying, does it apply? We're talking about walls, we're talking about floodplains, but we're not talking about the regulation. And that's all I wanted to point out.
Well,
Thank you.
and I would say, Val, and you've been here long enough to understand this too, like, I did actually point to the regulation in one of my questions about the open space, and just, you know, and I don't want to speak for Jeremy, he's perfectly capable of doing that for himself. I don't think his memo necessarily says yes or no. I think what it does is it frames the issue for us to make an informed decision based on what the regulations are and what the intent of the regulations are. Whether it fits or not is really something that's up to us to make a decision based on this whole process, right? So, and that's what we're elected to do. We're elected to make those decisions. And I think that, you know, as usual, we will ultimately make that decision, but that decision won't be reached until after we've heard everybody who wants to speak about it, including the applicant, or anyone else in town or otherwise. And based on that information and the information that we've received, such as the memo, we'll make a decision.
Right, I understand that. I just wanted to put my 2 cents.
I get it. Yeah, I appreciate it, Val, as always.
All right,
Good to see
thank
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you before. Thanks. Is there anyone else who'd like to testify at this time on this application? Mr. Judas.
I'm not going to speak in favor or against.
Hey, Steve, can you give us an address, please?
Yes, 876 South Main Street, Plantsville.
That's Steve Judas up there. Yeah, okay.
Who knows? I think that a couple of things I just wanted to point out is that the open space subdivision regulation is a little different than the Open Space Commission and their mission of preserving open space. And the regulation, I look at it as gift giving. The gift from the town to the developer is the reduction the gift from the developer to the town is the reduction of infrastructure and the gift of open space, something that makes it the gift of additional units worth the open space. I guess, see what I'm trying to say? There's kind of a balance between the open space regulation allows this commission to give more lots than the regular conventional subdivision, but for that gift, there has to be something in return and something for the town. Reduced infrastructure, usable open space. The open space can be passive. It doesn't have to be a park. It can be to preserve or protect other properties around it. So I think in the past, when we've come before you with open space subdivisions, we've tried to strike a balance between giving you good open space, giving you less infrastructure, and then asking for an increase in building lots. But within reason is what I would say. So as you consider this, I think you have to take those gifts and say, are they equal or not? How's that for trying to walk down the line?
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Anyone else who'd like to testify at this time on this application? Yeah? Let's get to the mic first so we can just get it on.
John Miller from 401 Flanders Road. I'm the president of Zion Lutheran Church. I just want to clarify a couple of things our pastor said. One of them is just, the concern is we run outdoor services. We have parking lot lights during apple harvest. We're working there late at night, making some noise and with headlights and stuff. So just right down that border, if there would be some sort of common, just some sort of border, like a security fence or something that would go down around the property, kind of secure our property, and give a little privacy to the residents that would occupy those new houses. We want to be, like he said, we want to be good neighbors, but we also don't want to change what we've been doing too much for the last 60 years. It'll be 60 years that we've been in that spot this coming year. So that's kind of where we're going with it all, and just protection of the nursery school. And they do have some concerns. If the construction starts and churning up some of those chemicals that have been there for the last 40 years, would that have an impact on the kids, whether it be in the water or in the air? So,
Okay.
okay,
Thanks,
thank you very
John.
much.
Yeah, thank you for coming out. Anyone else at this time? Okay, I don't see anybody. As I said, this public hearing is going to remain open, so people will be given another opportunity at our next meeting, at least on the 5th of December. But let's bring the applicant back up here to address some of the concerns that were brought up by our residents. So Chaz, if you want me to run through some of those, I'm happy to do it, or if you've been taking notes, you can go ahead and do it yourself, so.
Sure, I've been taking notes, but if there's any that the commission feels
Okay,
they
why
want.
don't you go, if there's something that sticks out to me or anyone else up here, we'll just bring it up, so go ahead.
Sure, so I think the one that stuck out to me the most, because it hits home as well, is the open space and having someone walk in your backyard. I have a home in a nearby town, and it's similar constraint that had to go through, hey, it's not open space, it's private property, you know, it used to be, you know, someone lived in it and let people walk through it. So from a commission standpoint, if it's something commission's looking, saying, hey, look, the abutting residential, we don't want to have to, given it's town land, we don't want to have to deal with a trespassing call with the police saying, hey, is he on my property, is he not? You know, there's fences that are installed in there, but still to have someone 5 feet over a fence saying I'm on town property, if that's something the commission says, hey, look, against abutting residential, we'd prefer, you know, if it's usable or if it's passive, don't use the strip of open space behind the residence for the future conflict it could create. That helps us to redesign the open space and allows us to figure out how best to shape it in the modifications to the plan. So that was the first thing heard loud and clear. If it's something the commission said, hey, don't go back against residentials, it's something we'll take, you know, back to the drawing board and look to modify the open space configuration. Couple other pieces just to the church. In regards to the fencing, obviously if they're individual lots owned by the folks that buy the lots, they're gonna put the fence that they want, fence or not fence. There's currently, and I'll go to the image here. There currently is a tree line buffer. That's proposed to stay in the back, so we're not grading to there. And then from a drainage standpoint, the drainage that currently is proposed coming off, which isn't treated, isn't, you know, is whatever in the soil there that drains off, is less than what's currently proposed. By code, we have to reduce the stormwater drainage that comes off our property. So the overall drainage in all the storms from a peak rate will be reduced to the church. Like I said, in terms of what goes there, whether the church installs a fence, whether the homeowner that purchases the lot installs their individual fence, it's not something we're currently proposing, and it's tough in a subdivision to then put one fence that every property owner, then you get into an HOA where it says, okay, I put one big, long 500-foot fence that every homeowner has to maintain. I'd prefer to leave it to, you know, each individual homeowner. But again, if there's more comments from the church, I'm sure working with the planning and engineering department office, we'd, you know, be open to any comments they have on that one.
Well, hold on. He's answering comments, and everything has to go through the chair just to make sure we have some order here, so, Chaz, go ahead.
And then again, the other open, you know, comment in terms of restoration, in terms of what the open space is, you know, heard from the first comment about the biology, and Mother Nature takes over if you leave something long enough, you know. Mother Nature's going to grow back in it. From an open space, I think that's what we're looking for the commission's direction is how much of that open space do we want active that people can walk through? How much of it do we want to restore and enhance the evergreen or deciduous buffers to it? I pull up this image here because this kind of shows you the open space. This back notch here is lot 9. Essentially, and this is kind of the grade change, and this is the view shed of the neighbor's property, but the stream that's back there. You know, and the open space is a portion of this property. You know, how much do we want, given that it's already been disturbed and there's significant grade change, giving it back as open space, do we want half of that to be, let's enhance this buffer instead of, you know, 2 or 3 lines of trees? Do we want to put more trees as we're modifying the grade? So that's, again, what we're looking for from the commission's direction is we've heard loud and clear the usability needs to be there. How much of that wants to be an enhancement of the nature that's slowly taking hold in here and hopefully to help enhance what that wetland buffer and that riparian buffer is up against there, as that's the area of the property we're not looking to disturb. So heard on all the public comments and thank you for your comments and the public comments that help us.
Yeah, the only thing that sticks out to me that you didn't address was the concern brought up by the church about the safety measures to ensure the safety of the nursery school when it's in session. Anything planned on that to address that? It's again, I think it's on the most eastern northern border of the church's property, which would put it on the southern border of.
Yep.
I could give you if I wanted to, and if you need it. And give you a lot that I'm looking
The
at.
Existing plan there. Nothing currently proposed on that lot. And I think we're looking at lot 5 back.
You're looking like lot 4, lot
In
5,
this corner
maybe
here.
even
Yep.
lot 3 area.
No-
Yeah.
Nothing currently proposed. I don't know if there's an existing fence that is up there in the playground area. But again, given the individual homeowners lots, nothing proposed on the current plan.
Okay.
That would, again, keep a kid from running to someone's backyard, keeping a backyard party from spilling over aside from the existing tree buffer.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Any other questions before we move on from members of the commission here to the applicant? Okay, as I said, we're going to leave this public hearing open. There's still some information, phase 1. There's still comments that are pending out there from the planning office as well as from the engineering office. We're back here again in 2 weeks. That would be December 5th, same time, same place. And we look forward to seeing you at that time and continuing the conversation.
could I ask one more question?
Sure.
Just to the commission, it was brought up again initially in terms of how people would access the open space. Is parking within the open space something that would want to be entertained? If it's usable, do there need to be parking spaces? If it's the end of the cul-de-sac, do we need to accommodate for 3 or 4 people to park that aren't then parking on the street?
Guys, we react to whatever application you present to us. I mean, what that looks like is completely up to y'all. You know, I think they, you know, I can't give you a definitive answer to that, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
But you just have to do the best that you can, and, you know, we're not gonna tell you how to design your proposed project. But, you know, I think that you hear some feedback and you take it back and maybe you modify some things and come back in 2 weeks and maybe there's a little bit of a modification, maybe there's a big modification. I don't know. That's completely up to you guys, though.
Sounds great.
Am I right, Jeremy, or, yeah, does that sound right? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Have a great night. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Yeah,
Commissioner Hammersley, if I may.
yes.
I also
Nick.
noted that, you know, there's a focus on usability. Just to clarify, it's more, whether it's, you know, direct or passive, it's really just getting commensurate value with the open space for the town taxpayers to take on the additional lots, et cetera. That is the focus, at least in my mind.
I think it's something that was brought up. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I just, clarity's sake.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Chaz. Thanks, Nick, for bringing that up. I appreciate it. All right. Sure, but not from there. Let's come up here because I need to make sure it gets captured on the recording, so. Again, we'll be back here in 2 weeks. I don't want to drag people out here unnecessarily if they have other things going on. I know that people do, so. But, again, start with your name and your address.
My name's Gary Berube. I live on Pleasant Street. What I wanted to comment was, we were talking about the tree lines and the 20-foot tree lines, et cetera. You know, some of us live right there. Looking at these aerial views, it looks like you're standing in a lush forest. Trust me, when you get there, you can see everything. So, you know, don't make it sound like 20 feet is going to separate the new from the old, because it's very open down that whole parcel. So I just wanted to make you aware of that if you haven't seen it. Obviously, the pictures didn't reflect it. Thank you.
I live on Hobart Street, Gary. I'm very familiar with the site, so 3 kids through DePaulo, so obviously it sits right across the street, and
You know.
I have a pretty good idea, yeah. Thank you, though. Okay, so we're going to move on to the business part of our meeting. Item number A, Snow White Power Equipment subdivision application for a two-lot re-subdivision, property located at 154 Town Line Road, zoned in I-1, S1339. The public hearing was closed earlier today. Commissioner Britton.
Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, we will do that. We will seat Tessa in your place for now. With that, let's open it up for discussion and motion potentially. Go for it, folks.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve application number S1339.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Coles with a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, can you call the roll, please, Jeremy?
Actually, can I have?
Oh, sorry.
I'm-
Yep,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry,
Caleb.
Mr.
No,
Chair.
no problem.
Just for the record and for my own edification, this is not a site plan or anything like that. This is just to make the subdivision, and we will visit that when it comes around.
This is a re-subdivision of an already approved subdivision, correct?
Thank you.
Okay. You all set?
That's it.
Everyone all set? Okay, go ahead, Jeremy.
Commissioner Tedesco? Yes. Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Ma?
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wolowski?
Yes.
Chair Emerson?
Hammers is a yes, 7-0, motion passes. Rob, you're back with us here?
Back in the game.
All right. Again, items number 15B and C are, we'll look for a motion to table because those are, we have an active public hearing. Can we get a motion to table those two items?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Tedesco with a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Chaplinsky with a second. Good job. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item 15D, New England Liner Systems Site Plan Modification Application for a proposed 4,500 square foot building addition, property located at 40 Westfield Drive, zone in I-2, SPR 1872. This was tabled for our meeting on October 17th. Mr. Judas. Oh, hold on.
Chairman,
Rob.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, Tessa, you're back in. Thanks, Rob. Go ahead, Steve.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. Again, for the record, Stephen Judas with the office of Harry Cole & Son, 876 South Main Street in Plantsville. This application is for, did my notes backwards, so bear with me. New England Liner Systems. This is a 40 Westfield Drive. This is a cul-de-sac, an I-2 cul-de-sac located off Canal Street. We have a couple other industrial buildings and Penn Trucking off to the south. We have an existing building. New England Liner Systems built this building a while back. They're a very active company. They have some outside storage that they have out, which is permitted in I-2, and they're looking to just add an addition. It's a 2.81 acre parcel. It's serviced by public water and public sewer. The existing building is 6,000 square feet with existing paved parking area and then gravel. And they actually have a sand volleyball court out in the back. I'm not sure what they do out there, but we're proposing to maintain that. And we're proposing a 4,500 square foot addition to the back of the building. We're proposing some minor modifications to the existing detention basin to manage the stormwater. But the addition is really covering up compact gravel, so drainage isn't too big of an issue. We did receive comments from staff, and I believe we have addressed those comments satisfactorily, but I'll let them respond to that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have for me regarding this application.
Okay, let's start by going to staff and making sure that their comments have been addressed adequately. Jeremy, are you good?
Planning is satisfied, Mr. Chair.
Jim?
Same with engineer.
Okay, let's open it up to members of the commission. Any questions of the applicant?
So the addition area is the darker yellow, sort of
Yes.
golden color?
Yep.
All right. That suffices for me.
Okay, any other questions from members of the commission? Anything else, Steve?
That's it.
All right, so
I
I'm looking,
like these. They're pretty easy.
yeah,
Industrial.
don't
Love it.
speak too soon.
I know, I'm sorry. I got one more tonight.
Can we get a motion?
Make a motion, we approve SPR 1872.
Is there a second?
Second.
We'll give that to Tessa. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Tedesco,
Yes.
Commissioner Poles,
Yes.
Commissioner Mott,
Yes.
Commissioner Jablonski,
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wolowski,
Yes.
Chair Hamilton.
Hammersley's a no, I mean yes, but, yeah. Motion passes
From a design
7-0.
standpoint.
Item, Rob, you back with us? Tessa, good job. Item 15E, DZ Inc. LLC, site plan modification application for a proposed 7,900 square foot building addition with associated vehicle circulation, parking, and loading area, property located at 93 Industrial Zone. It's a zoned I-1, SPR 1571.3. This was tabled from 10/17. Steve, you're still in the batter's box.
Yes, sir, I'm still
Nope.
here. Steve Judas, for the record. This is a property of DZ Ice. This was part of the Industrial Drive subdivision. DZ Ice originally had a building lot that was kind of rectangular in shape. They did purchase the lot next door. They have it's an I-1 zone, it's currently a 2.81 acre parcel serviced by public water and public sewer. There's an existing storm drainage that runs through the site out to a detention basin in the back that manages stormwater for the entire subdivision. That stormwater traverses right along the edge of our building. I'm sorry, let me back up. Did I say public water and public sewer service on this piece? We do in an existing 12,000 square foot building. They use the front portion of this building for ice manufacturing, and then they use most of the rear for ice storage with a little bit of office space here. We were proposing elevated just off the ground, floor level, a bridge to our proposed building. This is a 10,700 square foot ice storage facility. So while they won't be doing any manufacturing in here, it would just be a gigantic freezer. Loading dock proposed with some additional parking and pavement area. We have additional catch basin we're proposing with some berm and infiltration trench to help with runoff. But generally, they're using this portion of the site currently just for overflow parking and things like that. But the idea is to formalize it with a new building or an addition to the existing building, I guess is what I would say. It's a pretty interesting building, Diamond Ice. We store our apple harvest french fries in that building, and it's quite cold to be in there. You'd be amazed at the amount of ice that they store and the amount that they produce, and they're just a growing business, so it's good to have them in town, and we're looking forward to this expansion. So any questions you have for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
And Steve, just to make sure that I am clear, this is roughly the same size minus about 2,300 square feet of the existing building to the south, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
The proposed building is going to be structured in the same manner as the other building?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, before we open it up for commission comments, have engineering and planning comments been satisfied? Yeah. Okay. Any comments or questions of the applicant from members of the commission?
What's the square footage on the added?
Yeah?
Well, what's the square footage on the added amount of like impervious space for the parking lot?
I want to say about 25,000 square feet for additional parking.
That-
The subdivision was designed, so each lot would have, I want to say, a minimum acre of developable surface. There's an extremely large detention basin that's located, is there a pointer out? In this location in here. It goes all the way down the industrial drive, and that is how they manage stormwater.
And that's engineering, that's in compliance with like, in terms of sprawl, of, like impervious surface parking lot.
Yeah, because of the extra lot area, the revised
additional lot as well under the, as Mr. Drew said, the 1 acre per lot.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just,
Caleb?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. Two easy ones, I think, and one not so easy. The first one, the new structure, are you planning, I see that the existing Diamond Ice building has roof solar. Are you planning to do roof solar?
I believe so, but
Unknown?
I don't
Okay.
know for sure.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Second question is, what's going to be the added truck traffic going up and down Industrial, estimated?
It really depends on the time of the year. I mean, obviously, in the winter, they're not as busy as they are in the summer. Fourth of July weekend is honestly, I think, their biggest weekend, but it's hard for me to tell you exactly what the truck traffic is. It's, you know, I'm just
Most
not
of
sure.
their, let me ask you, this, are most of their vehicles like tractor trailers or?
No, they
smaller?
use a smaller box truck typically. I think they have one tractor trailer that they use. But
Gotcha.
I think they have three smaller box trucks. But generally what happens is the trucks will load up at night, you know, at the end of the day. They build, the trucks are all refrigerated, they plug them in, and they load them all up. So in the morning, the trucks leave and they go on their route. So they're not coming back and forth during the day. They leave once and then they come back at the end of the day, and that's it. So it's not you don't see a lot of vehicles in and out of the parking lot.
Okay. Last one, are sidewalks required here? Are sidewalks required here in I-1? No.
Okay. Industrial.
Um,
Thank God.
And just to follow up on Caleb's traffic circulation, this traffic would travel down Captain Lewis Drive out to West Queen Street, correct?
Yes, sir.
And all that area is zoned as an I-1?
I would say
There's
so.
something to the northwest area that's R40, but that's
Right.
not going to be really
Yeah,
influenced
that doesn't
by
go
this.
through any residential neighborhoods.
Yeah,
It's basically West Queen Street, either Queen Street or West Street.
okay. Any other questions from members of the commission? I would just say before we take a vote on this one is that this part of town is quite impressive. If you get a chance to go out there and take a look at it, the way that it's designed out in that part, the industrial is very, maybe different than what you typically would think an industrial area is designed as, but they do a really, really good job, the businesses out there, of being good residents, if you will, or good stewards of industrial property. So, but with that, let's call the roll, please. We need a motion, yeah, sorry.
Also,
Oh, Nick,
suggested conditions, still pending health department. We received that today, I apologize.
Okay.
From yesterday, we received. Okay.
okay, good catch, Nick, thanks. Yeah, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve SPR 1571.3.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second?
Tedesco with a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tedesco,
Yes.
Commissioner Coles,
Yes.
Commissioner Britton,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wolowski,
Yes.
Chair Hammer.
Hammers is a yes, 7-0, motion carries.
Thank you for your
Congratulations.
time and consideration
Are
tonight.
you done with us now?
I'm going to hang out for Mastriani Drive just to.
Oh, okay, yeah,
If
yeah,
I,
okay.
if I
All
need
right,
to
well, don't
say-
move, because.
defend myself.
Because the next one, we're looking at a request from the applicant on item 15F, Mount Southington Limited Partnership Site Plan Application to construct a parking area for the reuse of an existing building for seasonal ski rentals, storage of skis, meeting room and storage of documents, property located at 426 Mount Vernon Road, zoned in an R2025 SPR 1873. The applicant, I believe, has requested a table for this. Can we get a motion to table this?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
A motion, is there a second?
Second?
Motion is second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15G, and Steve, this is what you're here for. It's a discussion on open violations at 50 Mastriani Place, which was SPR 1823.1. Just to start us off, Jeremy or Alex, or who wants to talk about this current situation out there and why this is on our agenda? I mean, I'm happy to talk about what I know, but go.
Engineering department, I think, was the initial
Okay, yeah.
Where the complaint initiated from a neighbor complaint that, thank you, that a buffer strip had been eliminated out there against an approved site plan. So engineering department sent, I think Rome went out there and took a look at it and confirmed that the buffer strip had been removed. There'd been some additional grading that had taken place. There was an approved site plan from, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, that some planted trees that were along that property line were to remain and then be additionally planted in that area as needed. But this work was done against that. So zoning enforcement officer sent a cease and desist letter based upon those inspections. We have been working with the property owner, and Mr. Judas, actually, we met with Jim and I, and Dave LaValle from our office met with Steve last week to discuss a remediation plan to come into this commission, hopefully for your next meeting. So I'll look to Steve to talk a little bit about what's going on at the site.
So, yeah, I think, can't speak for the applicant. I don't know if there was a deliberate intent to not follow the plan. I think maybe just getting out there and moving dirt himself, he forgot to look at the plan as he was doing it, which does happen from time to time. So as soon as he realized he got the cease and desist, he spoke to the neighbor, he called my office. We spoke to Jeremy and Jim. I sent my field crew out to survey the property to see where we are from a grade perspective, to see what's been cleared, and just establish a good base plan so we can all kind of evaluate what the best course of action is. And when we met, the only thing that we were missing, we wanted to get a little bit of data along the property line on the other properties so we can see where the stormwater currently runs, where the drainage patterns are. So my only problem with that is they're all fenced, so we're kind of knocking on doors and trying to talk to people before we go in their backyard to do that work. And I think we're like, almost done with that. I may have another day out there to get that done. And then we're going to put together a restoration plan that we will submit and come before you with that. So it's in the works, and he understands, and he wants to make amends for what he's done.
Yeah,
So-
and just speaking for myself, because I was contacted by a constituent on this, as you may know or may not know, but you know now. And I appreciate the willingness of you and the property owner there, your client, to work on a remediation plan here, and I look forward to seeing what that looks like when it's ready, and hopefully it fits what we're looking for, and I trust the town staff, engineering, and planning will make sure that it does as well. So, but I wanted to bring this again to the attention of the commission. There was a cease and desist order, which is somewhat of an unusual step to be taken, I think, and so it sort of elevates it a little bit, and that's
Yeah,
why.
it's probably the right step, though, I think.
Yeah. So, any
Hopefully-
questions of
hopefully
members
he's
of the
not
commission
watching.
on this, or anything they want to add to that, or are we're really just waiting for the remediation plan to
Yes.
come forward, hopefully sooner rather than later, but, I want it to be right, but also I don't want it to languish.
No, we're
Forever, so.
getting it done.
Okay.
I asked the only
Yeah,
question.
Caleb, go ahead.
What's the timeline on getting that back?
As far as getting the plan back?
Yeah.
I'm hoping in the next week I can have something over to these guys to start. I think what we'd like to do is sit down and figure out what we're gonna, the only issue we don't know right now is how is it seems to be causing problems with runoff from the neighboring property. So we need to just make sure whatever we propose solves that problem, and then I think the restoration of landscaping is pretty easy. We can come up with a plan for planting pretty easily for that.
So we're looking at planting in the spring.
Yes, yeah, I would say so.
Thank you, Mr.
So is that
The
good?
trees are the big, he did put trees in there, but they're minuscule, so we'll come up with something a little
Yeah.
more robust.
All right. Is everyone else okay? Thanks, Steve. Appreciate your help.
Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Have a happy Thanksgiving. All right, folks, buckle up. We're going to go through some bond releases here. So these will move rather, these will move rather quickly. Item number 15H, release of a $16,160 erosion and sediment bond, Hunter Build LLC, property located at 136 Liberty Street, SPR 1792. Jim, is this right?
Ready for action.
Okay. Any discussion from members of the commission? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve SPR 1792.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Caleb again?
It is.
Wow, you were active today. Got a second from Commissioner Coles. Any discussion? We could do a voice vote on these, I think, right? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15I, release of a $1,000 subdivision bond, Jerry Altieri, property located at 349 Marianne Avenue, S11285. Jim, is this ready?
It's ready to, this particular subdivision is null and void based on action of Penny Lane. So we'll be getting a subdivision bond, an E&S bond for that, which basically releases this requirement.
Okay. With that, do we have any discussion? Do we have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Britton with a second on that
There
one?
you go.
Spread the wealth, right? No discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15J, release of a $2,760 erosion sediment bond, Jerry Altieri, property located at 349 Marion Avenue, S1285. Jim, I assume this is the same as the last one.
Same as the last one, correct, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman?
Do we have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Woloski with a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Britton with a, did I get that right?
Uh,
Oh, Commissioner Tedesco. I gotta change my notes now. Commissioner Tedesco with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15K, release of a $26,400 bond in lieu of site plan compliance, Great American Donut, property located at 756 Main Street, SBR 1821. Commissioner Britton.
I wish to recuse myself.
Rob is recused. Tessa, you're in. Mr. Capone.
This is for the Duncan site, which is complete. The bond in lieu of was for Renaissance brick that is installed and is going to be continued under the Plantsville Safety and Beautification Project, which is underway right now.
The beautification of downtown Plantsville, long overdue and much anticipated, and looking forward to that. Okay, do we have a motion?
On the same items, can we, so like the SPR 1821, there are three items here. Can we group them together, or is that?
We'll just go through each one individually, just to make sure they have it, you know.
Yeah.
We might be able to,
More for
I know,
my
I
general
know,
knowledge.
I know.
Apologies, everyone.
I know. The other two will move really quickly, though, so I think,
Yeah.
any discussion on this?
If I don't interrupt again, yeah.
You're always welcome to, Nick.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion on this? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve SPR 1821.
A motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Chaplinsky with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15L, release of a $22,200 public improvement bond, Great American Donut, property located at 756 Main Street, SBR 1821. Jim, same thing?
Same thing, works completed, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any discussion?
Chairman, I'll recuse myself.
Recuse yourself, yeah, sorry. I had you already, Rob. I didn't bring it back, but that's okay. Good for the record. Tessa, you're back in too. Not that you ever left, but, no, go ahead.
I make a motion, we approve SPR number 1821.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Chaplinsky with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15M, release of a $4,800 erosion sediment bond, Great American Donut, property located at 756 Main Street, SPR 1821. Jim, same.
Same, we have a stable site, Mr. Chairman.
Rob, you're recused.
You said N, right?
M.
Oh, N. Yes, I am recused.
Commissioner Britton is recused. Tessa, you're there. Do we have a motion on this?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion to approve. Commissioner Woloski, we have a second?
Second.
Who gave me that?
Second.
Tessa.
Whoever
Tedesco
wants it,
with a
whoever
second.
wants it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? carries. Item 15N, LePage Homes, Inc., Penny Lane subdivision, request for a final 90-day extension to file a subdivision Mylar, property located at 747, 746, or I'm sorry, 347, 349, 389 Marianne Avenue, S1337.1. Jeremy, I think this falls,
Recuse myself, please.
Jamie's recused. Tessa, you're back in. Thanks, Jamie. Jeremy, I think this falls under you, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Any explanation, or it's sort of explanatory,
I
self-explanatory?
don't know exactly why they haven't filed those Mylars yet, but I know that they've been working with engineering to get the bonding all set, so I think we're heading into the home stretch, and they are entitled to an additional 90 days.
So they are entitled to this 90-day extension?
Yes, this would be the last one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So with that, any discussion from the commission members? We have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve number S1337.1.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Britton with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 15O, review and amend as necessary 2024 meeting agenda. I asked Jeremy, because we have a new commission, several new commission members, 4 to be exact. Hold on, Jamie, you're back in?
Yes.
Yeah, Tessa, thank you. I asked Jeremy to include the 2024 calendar for planning and zoning meetings. This was approved by the previous commission back in September. It's before you again, just to make sure that you all are okay with it. As always, our plan is to meet on the first and third Tuesday of every month, 7 o'clock in this location. We do have some exceptions standing, which are usually during the summer months of July and August, as well as in December in consideration of the holiday season. In those months, we only meet once. I think a proposed schedule was circulated. If you need a copy of it, by all means, ask me or Jeremy, and we can get one to you. But is there any objection to continuing that schedule moving forward?
Mr. Chair, I just had a question. What was the October 17th meeting to be held on a Thursday?
The council,
Oh, that's because
Trump you guys.
is meeting in this room the day
Oh, that's right.
town council has this
Town-
one.
Oh,
Yeah, Town council, DTC, and then we can meet on Thursday,
Gotcha.
unless you don't want to.
did I answer your question?
Thank you.
We can meet up the street, maybe.
As soon as you said it, I remembered. Thank you.
Okay. Good catch, Joe. Any objection to this schedule? Maybe just to make it clean, I'm going to ask for a motion to re-adopt this schedule.
I'll make a motion to readopt the schedule for the 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meetings.
Okay, we got a motion from Commissioner Coles. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Tedesco with a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Item 16, administrative items. You can go if you want to. Administrative items, is there anything? Jeremy, anything? No? Receipt of any new applications, anything? All right. So we're back here again on the 5th. I wish everybody a happy and relaxing, I hope, Thanksgiving holiday. And welcome aboard to our new members. I look forward to working with you all, and we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?